a rotten hooker.
I thought I was a good Christian.
I go to church every Sunday.
I thought I was a good Christian.
I go to church every Sunday. I'm a very religious person.
I thought I was a good Christian.
The very lies the serpent told to Eve in the Garden of Eden. Garden of Eden. Garden of Eden. The gospel of Jesus Christ. Spread confusion and promote lies. The gospel of Jesus Christ. Spread confusion and promote lies. The gospel of Jesus Christ. Spread confusion and promote lies. The gospel of Jesus Christ. Spread confusion and promote lies. The gospel of Jesus Christ. Spread confusion and
Hey everybody, it's February 9th, 2012, This Non-Religious Life. I'm your host, Ken. With me all the way across the country, we have Bob.
How's it going?
And Jason.
Hello.
And we have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about today. First of all, what did everyone think of the Super Bowl?
When was it?
You're such an asshole. You know what? I'm not a big football fan, but that was an exciting game. Come on.
I didn't even watch it. I don't know. You know what I did?
What? What'd you do?
I put up the natural one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I sent it to a few friends who would really enjoy that show. So that's what I did.
It's gonna be fun.
Did anybody besides me watch the game?
I followed it on my phone. I was working. I was just watched the score, and then I got really pissed off when, in the last quarter, the Giants,
The Giants beat the Rangers? What the fuck?
As far as football games go, it was very exciting, and I really don't like football. I think it's a drag.
I think Madonna stole the show.
And I'm just glad Tim Tebow wasn't playing.
Yeah, that's what I said. Let's see. So, aside from that, like I said, we have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. Jason, what do you think we should talk about first?
I think we need to talk about the emotional problems we are having as host of this show.
Emotional problems. You have emotional problems.
I refuse to talk about that.
There is a difference between mental and emotion, okay?
Yeah. All right.
Let's talk about asparagus.
Talk about asparagus? Okay.
2 out of 3 are vegan and the other is vegetarian, so let's talk about asparagus.
Now, I want to have a disclaimer. I'm not a fan of asparagus.
Really?
But that in no way colors my judgment of this video. A little background for the viewers. This is a video of a woman who calls herself, what'd she say, an asparomancer?
Yeah.
She predicts the future by taking pieces of asparagus and throwing them in the air and watching how they drop.
Let's play the video real quick.
Yeah, let's play the video.
My name's Jemima Packard, and I'm the world's only asparomancer, which means I actually use asparagus to make predictions. I have made predictions on very many subjects, including royal family, politics, sporting events, and it does appear that my New Year predictions, which have now become something of a regular occurrence, do tend to be very accurate. I'm intending to try and do a prediction now for you concerning the weather. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cast the asparagus onto the surface here, and from there make the prediction for you. So here goes. Right. Well, we've had quite a few little bits and pieces falling away from the asparagus. This would suggest some rain. But it also suggests, looking at the direction of the asparagus spears, that we're not going to have a very hard time with frost and snow, but we will have a very windy time. And this hopefully will blow all the rain away that we're due to have, and it will make it fresher, and it will make it far more pleasant and far more sunny. But I don't see that we're going to have any hard snow, any hard frost in the foreseeable future.
Okay, so that's the video.
A modern day groundhog.
Yeah. as opposed to what?
You know, I can't tell if she's serious or if she's like, or if it's like a Poe. It's parody so good that we think it's real.
No, it's real.
I
Did
almost
you see
guarantee it's
She's
serious.
wearing a cloak.
Yeah.
But any kind of really, because if I wanted to make fun of people that were doing predictions that way, I would pick, because it's all like the asparagus and the throwing of the asparagus and pointing out which way the asparagus goes and what did or didn't fall off. All of that is a show for just making shit up. And so really, like, ooh, I'm going to roll the bones, or I'm going to,
tea leaves
or bird entrails or anything crazy. I would pick something that's the most ridiculous sounding thing ever and go with that. And there you go, asparagus. I think she's pulling our leg.
But she's predicted.
I don't
she's
think she
predicted
is.
2 royal births, and she predicted that the Brits would win in the Olympics or something. They came true. People,
right?
You cannot predict when people are going to have babies.
Yeah, and I can't predict when somebody's predictions might just be right. And like any psychic, they always talk about what they predicted correctly. Well, nobody ever talks about the things that they didn't predict. If she predicted the royal births, why didn't she predict the death of Princess Diana?
She did, but nobody likes to dwell on negatives. Thanks a lot, Bob.
Yeah. And how many predictions of a royal birth has she? Okay, so the royal couple gets married, and I'm going to make a prediction. About 9 months to a year later, they're going to have a baby.
You think so?
That's
not how marriage works.
That's a gimme.
That's not how marriage works. You get married and sex ends. That's it.
Yeah.
You get married. You have the baby before you get married. That's why you get married.
Yeah, I was gonna say gestation of the first child is usually 6 months.
Yeah.
That's just the way it works.
Yeah, and I think maybe even the fact that she's pointing out, like, I predicted the royal birth, like the whole fucking world predicted that one. So I think she's pulling our leg. I think she's winking at us.
I don't think she is. Just because I've known so many people like this in my life, you can sort of tell that she's. I think she's serious.
Maybe I'm attributing a level of brilliance
that
she's not
crazier
there.
things than asparagus, but or actually not crazier, just as crazy. It's no different from tarot cards or tassomancy or scrying.
And that's what I'm saying though. I think she's pulling a joke on us, and she's using the most ridiculous prop she could think of, asparagus.
I think it's brilliant to use asparagus because if ever the witch hunt begin again, she can destroy her evidence.
Yeah. Her pee smells bad.
She's a witch.
Yeah, no, I love fortune telling because it's such a, it naturally is. All fortune tellers are pulling your leg. But you just go to the Wikipedia for fortune telling, and it gives you all the whole list of different types of fortune telling. And this is sort of like it's called cow sim, which is you do the same thing with bamboo sticks. You toss them on the ground, and then you see which way they're pointing.
But see, like all of those things, the props sound legitimate. The props sound like, ooh, bones of dead animals, or tarot cards have some mystical meaning, or even bamboo has some kind of like mysticism attributed to it.
Tea leaves,
tea leaves, right? But that's what I'm saying. She picked the most ridiculous, mundane thing and went with that.
But I think, that could just be because she's trying to set herself apart from other, I don't know.
Maybe she believes it.
So everything's been really organic, whether it's bamboo, whether it's tea leaves, whether it's asparagus. I would like to see somebody hang around at bars at closing time and going around judging the puddles on the parking lot of the drunks that leave behind and go, I can predict what you had for dinner.
I see by this splatter pattern the way that the chunks are aligned here.
You're not eating enough corn.
Yeah, right.
You need more fiber. I don't. I mean, maybe my stance is her being in on the joke. Maybe that's just wishful thinking. But
well, I don't know. Why don't we try to reach out to her and have her on the show?
Yeah, because then the whole time I'm going to be like, "But you're kidding, right? Right?
That's
right?
a valid question.
You're joking, wink, wink, right?" And she's probably going to be in character the whole time. No.
That's entertaining.
It's yeah. I mean,
Borat,
if she is a
out of
post,
it.
she's not going to come out on our show. That's for sure. But
Yeah, she's not gonna go. Oh, you three guys got me.
you got me.
Do you guys follow the Sylvia Brown, James Von Prague stuff with James Randi and the JREF?
No.
Vaguely, not much. Someone was suing because she didn't want to take the James Randi challenge, right?
Yeah, that's
that.
a brand new development.
Yeah,
where they accused her of being a fake, and they said I forget her name, and it's not Sylvia Brown, it's somebody else, and she wanted them to acknowledge her powers as a psychic, and they said, okay, well, fine, come and take the $1 million challenge on a test that we mutually agree upon. If you demonstrate paranormal abilities, we'll give you $1 million. And she declined to take the test. So they said, see, obviously she's if she was really had faith in her abilities or believed in her abilities and was real, then she wouldn't have any problem taking the test. And so now she's suing them for $1 million.
It's
I don't know how much the suit is for.
£150,000, and she's suing the publisher of the Daily Mail for printing an article suggesting that she and other self-proclaimed psychics might be using trickery rather than mystic powers when they appear to talk to the dead. This is Sally Morgan, by the way.
Yeah, okay, yeah, Sally Morgan. So but the point that the JREF makes is rather than take the challenge and get the $1 million if she's legitimate, she's sued.
Well, I can see why she wouldn't want to, take the challenge, because then if she proves that she does have this ability, then the media is going to be on her. Scientists are going to want to dissect her, and she doesn't want that attention.
Yeah, no, certainly not.
But, yeah. So she's suing a media outlet because they printed the results or the story of what actually happened.
Yeah. Well, she said
or is the article really biased in saying that they're all freaks, rah, or how's the article written? Because if it's totally saying that they're all freaks, they're all fakes, they're all losers, or whatever, and really attacking.
I don't think it went that way.
Then she may have a case. If the article was really balanced and this is what happened, this is why it happened, this is the results from what happened, then she doesn't have a case.
Well, the article was actually written by Paul Zenon, who is a former magician and psychic, just like James Randi used to be. So he's he definitely has a sort of insight into how things work and how things are.
Yeah, but I guess I should read that article, which I haven't. But I would imagine that he tread carefully in writing that article because the libel laws in England are really bad.
Yeah,
like you can be sued for libel very easily in England, and the burden of proof is on you, not the accuser, and so it's kind of backwards, and so a lot of journalists in England they tread carefully. Well, regardless, why the fuck didn't she take the $1 million challenge?
Yeah, I mean, just because you don't take a challenge, whether you have it or not, whether you believe that they have it or not, does not give evidence that she doesn't. I'm not saying that she does or doesn't.
But they do everything in their power to accommodate the needs of the psychic.
But, I mean,
and it's not
that's not a good justification for somebody to say, because it's almost like what we talk about. It's almost like the Pascal's wager type thing. I mean, on the other end of the spectrum, because if you're claiming you have this, and say if you truly believe that you have this, and you're looking at their situation where if you do it, they're gonna go out of their way to make you fail, and if it's not perfect for you, you fail. You know, you look bad. If you don't take it, you look bad, because I mean, well, they win on both sides.
Yeah, the more high profile psychics don't take the challenges, and
well, I understand that too. I mean, I understand that I understand why they don't take it, because they don't want to be exposed as being not true. But I can also understand if it's an individual who really truly believes that they have these ability, not wanting to take that test, because the cards are stacked against them.
How's that?
Because, I'm not saying an actual taking the test of just, because we defeat ourselves more in thinking about things than actually doing things. The harder we think about it, the more easier it is for us to talk and justify or ways ourselves out of things. And I can understand the not wanting to take. I'm trying to think of a real world scenario of where, yeah, if you truly have this ability, then doing it would prove it. But it's just like walking into somebody. I don't know how to explain it, but she's damned if she does, and she's damned if she doesn't. In terms of if she does it,
yeah, and the reason she's damned if she does and damned if she doesn't is because
she
frauds.
doesn't really have it. Yeah, but
if they were really legitimate, then they have everything to gain.
True.
And one of the points to the $1 million challenge is it's not set up such that, hey, come into this trap that we set for you because this is a test you can't pass. No, they work with the person and they mutually agree upon the testing conditions and what the test is. So they work with the person like, well, all right, well, tell me what you could do, and what do you think would be a fair assessment of that ability, and how do you think we should measure it, and nobody's ever passed and nobody's ever will, because they're frauds. And there was a thing did you see the thing on Nightline where they had Banachek, who's a member of the JREF. Banachek was the guy that fooled all the scientists in Project Alpha for those years. Did you ever read about that? It was like these scientists, I think they were in Wisconsin, and they were doing this thing called Project Alpha, and for 2 years they did all of these tests and studies on Banachek, and he was an amateur magician at the time. He was some 18-year-old kid, and he fooled the scientists for 2 years. They were like bending keys and spoons, and he was telling a story how like they gave him a camera and said let's take some pictures. He was like making stuff up as he went. So he said yeah, give me that camera, I'll show you some psychic phenomena. And he was like taking pictures, and then when they developed them, all the pictures had all these weird, funny, weird orbs and strange globules in them, and they couldn't explain. He was like, I spit on the lens.
That's funny.
I mean, it's just like stuff like that. So they wanted to believe. And he was, the whole time he was doing it, he was working for James Randi. And James Randi said, if at any time any of those scientists in this project ask you if you're cheating or faking it, you have to tell them the truth. And they never asked. He never had to say that.
Really?
In 2 years. And then when it was finally revealed, it was like a big reveal. It was a big deal. But so anyway, Banachek was on Nightline, and he had all these psychics. All the interns at Nightline, they sent out this blanket thing in New York City, because New York City is full of like these street corner psychics. And they had them come in and take basically the $1 million challenge. They set up an impromptu $1 million challenge for him. And everybody that was taking the test was like, oh yeah, that $1 million is mine. I'm going home with it. I'm going to be rich. Nobody passed. Nobody, and not only that, but the way the tests were measured, they all did worse than chance.
Yeah.
And of course, as soon as that happened, and so Banachek's really sly too, because one of the things that was important about how the test was conducted is he asked them beforehand, how do you think you'll do? Do you think this is a fair test? How do you think you'll do? And everybody was like, oh yeah, man, I'm gonna kill this. I'm gonna crush it. This is right in my wheelhouse. I can do this. And then everybody failed. And afterwards, they start backpedaling and saying things like, well, conditions weren't right, or I don't usually do it this way, or blah, blah, blah. It was really, really bad. So this person that's suing the Daily Mail is just another in a long line of sham.
Well, I mean, it just prolongs her exposure, I'm sure.
And so like one lady was like a tarot card reader, and one person, was a palmist, and all of that is just as ridiculous as the asparagus lady, and that's why I think she's got to know it's a joke.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I mean, if you've ever watched these people, like, it's theater. Theater is their thing. And this woman, she doesn't need any more exposure as far as the one that's suing the Daily Mail, because she was the psychic to Princess Diana when she was still alive. And apparently she has a big TV show in the UK.
So I bet she feels that she's going to have public opinion on her side.
Yeah. The name of the article is "What a Load of Crystal Balls," as Diana's former psychic is accused of cheating on stage. A TV illusionist exposes how trickery can fool any audience. It's actually from last September.
Yeah. But, so, I don't know if it's still there, but on the JREF website, like a couple years ago, Randy cornered Sylvia Brown on the Larry King show, and they hate each other. It's really funny to watch these two old people fight, and oh god, he hates her so much, and she hates him, and he finally cornered her, and on the Larry King show, she agreed to take the $1 million challenge. She said, "Fine, I'll do it. I'll take your $1 million challenge, and you'll see, ha ha." And Randy was like, "Excellent, yes, we're doing it." And that was like several years ago.
It still hasn't happened.
And it still hasn't happened.
Still hasn't happened, yeah.
And they had a little counter on their website, like days since that she accepted the challenge, that she hasn't shown up, and she's pulling things like, "I didn't know how to get in touch with James Randi," or "I didn't know how to reach him," and he's like, "I have a website, I have an email address, and you're a psychic."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Just ask the dead how to get in touch with James Randi.
Yeah.
Well, he's not dead, so she can't get in touch with him.
And James Van Prague is another one.
Mm-hmm.
He's another one of those guys, and I don't know, man. And they're almost as bad as like faith healers. It's all just theater and showmanship, and now you got me started.
That's what we like.
Are we gonna get that conspiracy theorist Mormon on the show?
I'd love that.
I haven't heard back from Ken on that.
No, we need to figure out what he wants to talk about, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
Because I watched a couple of his videos and I was like, wow. Interesting. Yeah, we can have him, but we just need to figure out what he wants to talk about.
Cool.
But yeah, back to psychics. Like, I love it. Living here in LA, there are psychics everywhere. Tarot card places, palmistry. It's all over the place. I see it on my way to and from work. I work right in Hollywood, so it's everywhere there.
And you want to stop, but you always running late for work, so you don't.
Exactly.
Exactly. I want. There's one on Virginia Beach that I always pass. I think it'd
Mrs.
be fun.
West.
Yeah, and man, it's like,
awesome.
It's the most opulent house on that little stretch. I mean, obviously, it looks like she's doing good, and I always want to stop and check it out. But what stops me is I don't want to give her any money.
Yeah. I grew up in Massachusetts, and Salem is right there, and you go to Salem, and that's all it is. That's their entire economy, it seems.
She even has her own shuttle.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's parked around back. You can see it.
I could see Salem, capitalizing on that. Everybody's, I'm sure some lady from, Sheboygan, Michigan, is set up shop there and claims to be, descended from the original witches that were burned at the stake in Salem, blah blah blah, and she probably tells a really good story.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much everyone's stick, that they're descended from, so and so who was, hung at the witch trials, but yeah, but that's everything. Like, you know, I was really into, you know, all of this stuff when I was younger, and it's you get to know people in those circles, and they start to pull the, like, you know, the generational sort of thing, like, oh, my great grandfather was a high druid at Stonehenge. It's like, no, he wasn't. Your great grandfather was a potato farmer living in, you know, in Rhode Island. You know, well, like, I don't know.
Trying not to be shot at by people from Massachusetts.
Exactly. Because back then, you just don't cross the border into Massachusetts. We won't shoot you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, those psychic guys, they just drive me crazy, and I really think that that I think we live in a culture now where that those psychics are they're given the benefit of the doubt, like they're not looked at critically or skeptically. Like I think,
oh, for sure.
I think like I don't know. It seems like they're like much like a lot of religion and spirituality. It's given a pass just because it. I don't know, and that's the part I don't understand. Like, why is it given a pass? Why do we regard like why is it wrong to question it?
I think a majority of people look at it as a novelty thing. It's kind of like going to Six Flags or going, you know, it's kind of just a fun thing. Have I ever told you about my first experience with a psychic?
No.
My first and only psychic reading. I was in Florida. This was a long time ago, maybe 10 years now. I was working on the gestation crate campaign where we banned gestation crates on factory farms for pigs, and I was out. We would hit up the events and the art shows and stuff, you know, because that's all Florida is. And I had petitions. I had a sign. I had a shirt from the HSUS that says "Help Stop," you know, gestation crates, and I had a sign that said the same thing, big letters, clipboard with the petition, and I was running around at this event gathering signatures. And one of the hot spots for me was happened to be kind of diagonal from a psychic reader table she had set up that she was doing readings and palm readings and stuff. And I was taking a break because, you know, it's fucking hot in Florida. I was drinking some water, and she comes up to me and she goes, "You're working so hard, I want to give you a free reading." And I'm like, hell yeah.
Sure.
So I go over there and we sit down. Nice, comfortable chair. She went all out. It was really comfortable. And she goes, "Give me your palm." I put my palm out there. The first thing she says to me is, "I can see you care a lot about animals."
Oh my god.
Mind you, I had a shirt,
right,
a big ass poster, a clipboard.
She wins
the whole day.
Psychic
I'm
of the
yelling.
Year award.
I'm yelling to people, "Sign the petition to help." You know? And then
That's funny. I think a lot of psychics have a lot of skill when it comes to things like cold reading and stuff like that. But she gets no points. Like,
that's the first thing she said, and I just laughed. I was like, "Really interesting."
Yeah, that cold reading.
Ice.
Yeah, that was a brilliant bit of intuitive sleuthing that she had going on there.
Yeah, she just continued to say how compassionate I was and caring, and I was like,
See, of course she would. That's how she would go. That's of course.
Yeah. I was like, great.
Yeah, I'd like to go to Madam West and just to see, because the house looks really nice. It looks like she's making a lot of money.
I want to go because every time I drive by there, I think of Batman.
Yeah, Adam West.
I do it every time.
Speaking of whoa. Speaking of Batman, I want you guys to know that I live minutes from the Batcave.
From the 60s show?
From the TV show.
Oh, sweet.
Yep.
Why don't you move in there?
Yeah. If it had all the computers and stuff, maybe I would, but
yeah.
All you have to do is install them.
Those weren't computers, Ken. Those were just flashing lights.
Yeah, right.
And little beepers.
We have a Batcave here.
Basically, I've seen the picture of the new setup.
It's awesome.
Might as well be the Batcave.
It's awesome.
Oh God. But whenever I think of psychics, it's funny because it really is just like them being observant. It's like anyone can do this if they spend enough time like training themselves to know what to look for.
Yeah.
And how
some
to
of them
pose
aren't even
questions.
very good at that, and they still
Obviously,
get a pass.
Yeah.
the free reading I got. Well, I guess maybe my reading was bad because I didn't pay for it.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, it was a free reading.
I foresee in your future a terrible reading if you don't pay $15.
I kind of got into trouble with this. We were talking about it on the Talking Dead podcast because there's that movie coming out with Cillian Murphy and Sigourney Weaver and
Red Lights.
Yeah, and Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
And in it, Robert De Niro plays he seems like a Van Prague-like psychic, and Sigourney Weaver and Cillian Murphy are like paranormal debunkers, and like they've made a career out of exposing. Like they show like this one bit where they're exposing somebody like Peter Popov, who was a faith healer who was getting radio signals in his ear from his wife, and in this movie looks like they start tangling with Robert De Niro, but this time he's real. Like he's like blind. Or
all
something. Other psychics up to this point have been frauds, and now that they're gonna be involved with him, he's real. And I think that everybody makes that common fallacy where they'll say like, oh yeah, all those other psychics out there are frauds, but the one I go to is the real deal. That I just see that happen all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for a movie, it makes good theater to have the guy be real. It would be over in the first 20 minutes if they're like, oh, he's fake.
Yeah, I know. And like Paul was like, it's a movie, man. And I was like, I know, but what it does is it establishes this culture where it's okay to make that it's okay to say that. It's okay to make that jump, and it puts that thing in people's minds where they say, wow, and maybe there is a case where the one guy will be real. What if? Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, that's fine though. I mean, maybe someone is real. They just have to prove it.
Yeah.
Show me the proof.
Yeah, I think the closest movie that came to like a skeptical look at it would be The Men Who Stare at Goats. That was kind of funny.
I never saw that.
It was George Clooney and Ewan McGregor, and it was based on was it Ron? I can never remember his name. Is Ron Johnson or John Ronson? And he wrote the book of the same name, The Men Who Stare at Goats, and it was about the MK Ultra program in the military where they were trying to produce psychic soldiers. And George Clooney played a character who was the best of all of those guys who ever were in Project MK Ultra. And the reason he was regarded as the best is because they used to do this exercise where they would stare at goats because they had goats that they were doing like live animal testing. And what the psychic would do is he would stare at the goat and in this exercise to try and make the goat's heart stop. So they were trying to kill a goat with their mind. And after doing this for several days, one night, like George Clooney was staring at like goat number 9. Or whatever the guy's name was that George Clooney played. Like, there's this instance where he was staring at goat number 9, and then they said, all right, exercise is over. They packed up everything, put the goats in the pen, and then that night, goat number 16 dropped dead for no reason. And they were like, oh, he did it! So that's why he was regarded as the Army's psychic soldier. Unbelievable.
It's awful. Awful for so many reasons. But that's that is how people regard psychics. It doesn't matter. Like, you talk to a psychic and they give you all this crap, and then something similar but totally unrelated happens in your life, and you're like, oh my god, they totally predicted that.
Yeah. What
That's how
did you see?
fortune cookies work.
Did you see? Do you remember when World Cup was going on last year when it was Spain and Germany?
Yeah.
And they had, what was it, Paul the Psychic Octopus?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Paul was 8 for 8. Like, that sounds amazing, doesn't it? And then I crunched the numbers. That's 1 in 256. Not so amazing.
1 in 256 is still pretty decent, though. That's better than
It's still
chance.
pretty good, but not amazing. 1 in 256.
I mean, if you put that,
I'd buy a lottery ticket for those odds.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
1 in
By
256 is
tickets.
not.
1 in 256.
Well,
I
I mean,
mean,
yeah,
like
like-
it's not lottery crazy, but I mean, it's still, it's an interesting probability. But I mean, with large numbers, chance is always 1 to 1.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I just remember everybody was making a big deal over Paul the. I mean, so that's ridiculous too, right? Paul the Psychic Octopus. He makes 8 50-50 guesses correctly in a row.
yeah.
Not so amazing.
Now, if he came up with the spread too,
Yeah.
then it'd be impressive.
like a marmalade.
Yes, octopus spread. Gross. But I mean, honestly, if he was like, latches his tentacle to like number 6 on the on the Spain one. Spain will win by 6 points, and then Spain wins by 6 points. That'd be impressive.
That would be impressive. And then if you did it multiple times, then yeah, that
8
would
times?
be something.
Oh yeah. Maybe octopi are psychic.
But that's not what happened.
The plants are. Let's talk about that. People would say plants are psychic
How would you know?
Yeah.
because they did a
Test
test.
it.
Actually, there's a test. I wish I would known we were going to talk about this. I would have pulled it up. There was a test that I read a long time ago that they hooked up some device to these plants, lit a match, and held it near the leaf of the plant, and the machine went crazy. And then they took a match without lighting it and stuck it next to the plant, and the plant stayed somewhat normal. And then they took the guy to think about lighting the match and burning the plant, and the plant went the machine went all crazy. So that report has been played out so many times in so many different variations that's where we get that plants are psychic. And that's why people say when you talk to your plants, if you're nice to your plants, they'll grow better. If you're mean to your plants, they won't grow. They've done that test with plants. They've done this test with water, saying that water has memory.
The water guy is that guy.
Oh god.
I mean, it's all the same type of test, and
So yeah, but the trend is if you looked at that plant study closely, you would probably find that it was a poorly designed, crappy study, right? And then, and one of the things about science, and here's where the rigor of science comes in. If I did that test exactly the way that guy did it, I should get the same results. And when people reproduce these tests, when they reproduce them, they find flaws in the methodology, they find flaws in the analysis, and as the tests get repeated and refined, the effect goes away.
but no, the effect doesn't go away because the effect, once it's out there, majority of society believes it. That's why
Okay. In the scientific literature, the effect,
goes
away,
away.
but the meme persists.
Yeah. I mean, that's why every vegan, every animal activist out there has at least had this argument 100 times. Will plants feel pain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's because of that stuff. It's because of that gets leaked in. It doesn't matter if it's true or false. It gets leaked into the masses and it sticks. It sticks like a ectoplasmic goo of
That
falseness.
idea when people say like plants feel pain, that's ridiculous. It's absurd. There's not even there's no plausibility to that argument. There's no way that plants could feel pain. And then when people say like, well, that you know of. Well, no,
Yeah.
it isn't what I know of. It's pretty much the scientific world at large.
I don't know.
Yeah.
My favorite.
There's no nerves, no synapse, and nothing to process it. So.
You're right. That's why I say like, but then people are like, oh, well, that's what you think. That's just like your opinion, man.
And I always respond. I said, then we need to lock up every kid during the summer because when they're making $5 mowing your neighbor's lawn,
Yeah,
they need to go to jail.
That's absurd.
mass genocide
Yeah.
with a lawnmower.
Every summer. Dun dun dun.
That kid mowing the lawn.
Anyway.
That's terrible.
But that's how this stuff happens, because it's always fascinated me how such untruths can stick in our society so well, but factual stuff that's obvious cannot even get a hook.
Well, you never let truth get in the way of a good story.
Well, yeah, but and it's sad that it happens that way.
I feel like it's because a lot of these stories they have good bullet points. You know, they have good little things that you can remember, and then you can just sort of regurgitate them later, like the match thing. It's easy to remember the methodology and say, "Oh, that's what they found."
Yeah.
Regardless of whether or not it's scientifically valid. You know, when you talk about actual studies, I mean,
or even realistic,
very complicated.
Yeah. Well, like I said, usually with studies like that, when people repeat them, they find flaws in the methodology and flaws in the analysis, and over time, the effect goes away.
That's in the science area.
Yeah.
In the real world, when it's repeated, the story gets bigger.
Right. Yeah.
Did you ever see the Mythbusters episode where they had plants and they were playing different music for them?
No, I didn't see that one.
And seeing how they grew? The plants that were listening to heavy metal grew the biggest.
Hell yeah.
While the ones that listened to classical were like not really big at all.
So what was their final analysis?
Who did that study?
Mythbusters.
It was Mythbusters.
Oh, Mythbusters?
Yeah.
That's
not
funny.
that they're the standard of scientific rigor, but
no.
Interesting because they thought it was going to be the exact opposite.
Well, that's what you're told. You're told you got to listen to classical music. Your plants grow better. Your brain works better. It stimulates parts of your brain when you listen to classical music that no other music does.
Well, right. You're talking about the Mozart effect?
Yeah.
That's been disproven.
Well, I know, but I think that's why they thought that listening to classical music would improve the plants.
Yeah. You know what? That's a perfect example of that meme that gets out there and it sticks because people will still say that.
People do say it, and the same thing with we only use 10% of our brains. I hear that at least 3 times a day, and I'm like,
"Shut up!"
No, no. I've gotten to the point where I work. I pull up. I have it bookmarked on the back computer, and I say, "Come with me." And I pull up the Wikipedia page about that, and I go, "Take 5 minutes to read that. I'll be back."
I love the 10% of your brain thing. It's because it's such a it's what I said. It's a little bullet point, like someone can just like spout off that one little soundbite, and it makes them sound, educated on the subject. And it's like 90% of your brain is working on just physiological functions, like making sure that your heart's pumping and you don't stop breathing.
Well, the argument that people use, especially where in the frame that I hear it the most, is
those are hippies.
Oh, fucking hippies! But are people who go, it's possible. People could have these powers. People could have this ability. People could do this. And if we could harness the power of our brains, because we only use like 3% of it, if we could get the rest. The use of the rest of our brain and harness that. Think of the magical powers that we could have. Think of the things that we could accomplish. Think of we could levitate. We could walk through walls. There's so many things that we could do if we could use our entire brain. And I'm almost like, please just use a little bit of it while you say that.
Yeah. Maybe you use 3% of your brain.
You know what I think when I think of people who talk like that, like when they talk about the untapped potential of their brain, I think they see it as like your brain is this reservoir, and we're only like using just that little bit of it, but there's this whole reservoir of untapped potential there that they feel like they can get out of it, right?
Yeah.
I think my thoughts are like, you're an idiot. You're approaching it the wrong way. The way you need to be thinking of it is that reservoir is that big and it's empty. You're only putting in 10% of what you could. Now, how about if you educate yourself and get smart and think about putting stuff in and then that's how you improve, right?
Yeah.
That's how you get better and smarter. You put stuff in, not think about ways to get it out.
Yeah.
And putting stuff in is things like, reading, studying, critical thinking.
Oh, it's like that. It's like the study was saying, the more folds your brain has, the more stuff that you learn. You want to start putting more folds in that reservoir.
Yeah, and thinking of it that way, like, there's this untapped potential in our brains. Like, no, really, your brain is a highly evolved but highly flawed organ. Like, you do all kind of fucked up stuff because your brain is imperfect.
Yeah.
And the way you get around that is you learn things and you train yourself to think critically. That prevents your brain from messing you up in the ways that it would. Because we weren't evolved to be telekinetic or psychic. We were evolved to see medium-sized creatures at medium distance approaching at medium speeds. That's it.
Yeah.
All the other stuff is a great side effect. We're a happy accident.
Don't forget to be able to determine between green bananas and yellow bananas.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, you want to increase your brain potential. You want to just do something better. Put stuff in your brain,
like LSD.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
I really like stuff like that because it's people do think like, oh, we only use 10% of our brain, and I feel like part of it is because there are people in our society who do so much, that are just so brilliant and think so far forward that it's easy to, people say Einstein used 13% of his brain, but the average person only uses 7. It's like, no, Einstein was brilliant because he applied himself and learned how to think critically about everything. Because
he looked at the world around him. He didn't just stay in this little narrow view of the world. Like even Darwin went out and watched the world.
Right.
And witnessed the world and took critical analysis of what he was seeing of the world. It wasn't that we were on Facebook or we were getting high or, or whatever. Well, I'm just saying, whatever it is that people do to try to achieve the next level, it's actually being engaged in the world, not just sitting back. It's not just thinking. It's not like Aleister Crowley where he sits in the dark and beat on his eyeballs until he gets an idea.
Aleister Crowley. We could have a whole show on just him.
We could, couldn't we?
Yeah. Him and LaVey.
Crowley's so much more interesting. LaVey's just a circus showman. Huh?
Who was LaVey?
Anton LaVey.
Yeah.
Church of Satan.
See, that's off my radar.
Yeah. he was just a circus performer that got lucky and got a following.
Yeah. Pretty much. When I was living in Norfolk, remember when I had that preacher moving across the hall from me?
Yeah.
Rochelle was always like, can you just be sitting on the steps reading the Satanic Bible when they come in or something? Because we have a copy of it. Yeah. It is so poorly written. It's awful.
It's not even good.
That's not even good. And this is coming from someone who reads the Bible constantly. And I think it's poorly written.
We're coming. I can't believe we talked about psychics and asparagus lady like the whole time.
I could have told you that before the show.
Yeah. Speaking of books, Kimmy, I want to take the last few minutes. I want to talk about your book.
Oh yeah. It's almost done. I'm working on the indexes now, and then I'm gonna go into editing. But yeah, it's a source critical version of the first 5 books of the Bible. So,
see, I don't even know what that means.
Exodus. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. They're the first 5 books of the Bible. It's, the creation story and the generations leading up to Moses, and then Moses' exodus out of Egypt, and then, Numbers and Leviticus are the Levitical laws, and then Deuteronomy is sort of history leading up to just before the conquest of Canaan. Traditionally, it's thought that they were the first 5 books of Moses, that Moses wrote them down. He was up on Sinai with God, and God handed him everything. He just wrote it all down. In the 17th century, in the 18th century, people began to, discredit that idea. You had people like Spinoza and Thomas Hobbes, who really looked at it. At the end of Deuteronomy, it talks about Moses' death. And obviously Moses didn't write his own death. Especially in it, it says that no man knows about his own death. And in later years in the 19th century and then into the 20th century, people began dissecting it, and you can see who wrote what parts. So you see like parts that are written by the priests in the post-exile. You see huge swaths of Deuteronomy that were written during the reign of King Josiah. Sections that were written in the Northern Kingdom, sections that were written in the Southern Kingdom, just by language and form and all sorts of things. And I color code it, the whole thing. So, and then I have a timeline and, indexes and weight and measurements. But it's the King James Version text, so it's all in the public domain. Plus, I put in annotations referencing original Greek and Hebrew. It's been a lot of work.
What does source critical mean?
Hello?
Source critical is just as it sounds. In biblical studies, there are different forms of criticism. It's form criticism, where you're looking at the literature and the way it's formed. Source criticism is you're going back to try and figure out actual sources for things. So in the New Testament, you're looking at, okay, Matthew borrowed this from Mark. Luke borrowed this from Q. Second Peter borrowed this from Jude, who borrowed it from Enoch. And you can get back to see where things originated. In my book, it's you're getting to see if they use the name Elohim for God. Chances are it was probably written either by the priests in the post-exile, or it was written in the Northern Kingdom of Israel. If they use Yahweh, then it's probably written by the Deuteronomists, or it was written in the Southern Kingdom at some point in time. And then you have to look at the form, see how things were written. The priestly writings are very, very dry, legalistic writings. They deal with mostly laws. The Yahwist writings are very, very flourished, and the Deuteronomist likes to tie in things to history. So
is this more of like a reference book, or
it's very much a reference. A few footnotes here and there throughout, just where I point out strange things about the language, where say the Hebrew is completely ambiguous, where no one really knows what it means. It's a big section. They teach this theory in everything from, religious studies at Yale straight down to, conservative seminaries. But I haven't seen a book that ties it together the way that I put it together.
I think the real question is and judging by the votes that I got on Facebook, are you going to change the back photo picture of you?
I'm working on the cover. I'm not as artistically inclined as some people, and since this is mostly my own project, I don't have artists.
Well, no, we're not talking about the art.
So.
We're just talking about the photo of you. I mean, because I suggested that you'd be half nude on a fake bearskin rug with candles while you're reading the Bible, and it got a lot of votes.
I know. Your
with that come
your
hither
suggestion.
look.
I think that would be awesome.
I'm probably going to leave my photo off of it.
So are you self-publishing this, or
I don't know yet. I'm not against the idea of self-publishing. If David Hume self-published everything.
Who? No, I'm joking.
And there are a number of authors today that are self-publishing. It's very hard as a new author, especially with the rise of ebooks,
The empire,
the decline of brick and mortar. bookstores. Publishers don't want to take risks on new people, so I might self-publish this one. I already have my second book, which is going to be very similar, but it's going to be a New Testament source criticism. Thinking about it already, and seeing how this goes, I might try to shop that around a bit more to publishers.
So when this all comes together, how can I get it?
If I self-publish, it will be available from Amazon.
And zombiepopcorn.com.
And oh yes, of course. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, I think Amazon's probably the best distribution source at the moment.
Yeah.
I might do
right up
extended.
there with
so
what's that? The How to Train Up a Child guy.
I'm joking.
I'm joking. He self-publishes on Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, lots of people self-publish now. What was his name?
No, but I think that's awesome that you can do that now. I mean, I
self-published.
I like that because before there was this model that if you're going to write a book, there's like publishers and agents and it just seemed inaccessible.
And it was inaccessible years ago before the rise of self-publishing and ebooks and all this stuff, where the book industry really started to go into decline. I actually got the idea from David Mills, who's an author. He wrote, God, what books did he write?
What about like an ebook, like on Kindle or something?
I'll probably make it available. I mean, it's color coded, so it's hard for Kindle.
Well, you could do it EPUB 3 though. If you did EPUB 3, you could do it.
What is that?
EPUB 3 is where it's going to be interactive. It's the new format, and they're trying to make it a standard where you can actually embed videos, embed links, embed other stuff, where it becomes more interactive, kind of like what they're doing with the magazines and stuff.
Yeah, the Atheist Universe. That's what David Mills wrote, and I
mean that's what they're doing, like textbooks for schools with EPUB 3.
Yeah. I mean, the whole book industry is changing pretty rapidly.
Even ebook is changing crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, because once they get the standard of EPUB 3, it's going to change.
I remember when I was in school, like taking engineering classes, you take thermodynamics 2 or something, and you pay like $250 for this really heavy textbook that was just a fucking brick, and it would have like this interactive CD that came with it, but that CD was like an operating system that was like 3 generations older than what you were currently using, so it was useless.
Yeah,
I had cutting edge technology.
Books like that when I was in college too. It was like, the CD that comes with your sociology textbook, for first year.
What you should look into, I don't know if you have been, because just recently, like last month, Apple did a not a panel, not a convention, but they did an event in New York City where they were reaching out to schools, and they're giving out their free self-publishing software where you can create your book using their software and sell it in their store, and also export it to others. If you don't know about it, I'll send you links to it so you can look at it. And it's all free. It's all free for self-publishing art. People, anybody else you have to pay for it, but if you're writing a book, it's free.
Oh,
nice,
interesting.
And they're trying to they're giving that to all the textbook publishers and stuff for schools, because they're trying because they're giving iPads to all these schools so they can have digital books and textbooks, and they're just doing their new business models for education. So, but people like you can take advantage of it, and I'll send it to you.
Man, that's
definitely.
Like, you think about like especially in in secondary education, an iPad would be great, because like every semester you're spending $200-300 on books every semester. Yeah. $500 for an iPad, you're done. You've spent your money that's all you need to spend.
Well, no, actually, the bad thing about textbooks and ebooks and stuff now is the industry has not found a balance with the pricing yet. I mean, there are ebooks that you can buy that are $150, and I wouldn't pay that for an awesome hardcover. I mean, the publishers have not have not. I mean, when you can buy an ebook and a regular book for the same price, there's something missing there. Sure, the publishers and whoever involved gets more money, but it's not worth it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's somebody who says, you buy the book for what, not the paper it's printed on, but what's printed on the paper.
Yeah. But I mean, you can say that about music. You don't buy it because of the CD or the record that it's on.
Right.
And the prices are reflective of the medium. I mean, you're no longer paying for the plastic. You're no longer paying for the printing materials.
Yeah.
You're no longer paying for whatever else. So, I mean, it's going to change. The prices are definitely going to start to become in the next couple of years become more reflective. If not, it's going to kill the industry of it.
Yeah, I mean, it has to change for sure. Because I've noticed the disparity in ebook prices where, I mean, it's cool you can get a lot of classics for free.
Yeah.
But then you have some ebooks out there that are just ridiculously priced.
Well, the shit for free is changing because Congress just gave the rights away that the stuff that's in public domain can be picked up, and since it can be digital now, they can be picked up and no longer in the public domain. So a lot of books and movies are being taken out of public domain and picked up by studios, so they can reproduce it. It's really fucked up. But anyway, that's not the topic of this show.
Yeah. Well, anyway, congratulations on the book, Ken. I look forward to it.
Thank you. I'll send you guys digital copies so you can check it out.
Cool.
It's a lot of formatting.
But EPUB
cool.
and EPUB 3 is going to be the standard, so I would stick with that. Don't do anything else. Kindle does different, but anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but I mean, there's conversion software too.
Yeah, they don't work very well though. Anyway, I have a lot of ebooks, so you want to take us out?
Sure. So that's the show. A lot of psychic nonsense.
I knew he was going to say that.
Nonsense. I know. It's because you're psychic.
Yep.
But if you have any ideas, want us to talk about something, think we missed something, give us a call. Zombie Popcorn Hotline 757-337-2195. You can email us at zombie-popcorn.com. You can put us in your circles on Google+. You can like us on Facebook, facebook.com/This Non-Religious Life. We're on Stitcher Radio. You can listen to us there on your phone, on the go. iTunes, download us on your, on your iPod or iPad or whatever you have, iPhone. Leave us feedback. Just get in touch. Rate us up, rate us down. We're on YouTube. And definitely just go to the site, zombie-popcorn.com. You can sign up for the newsletter. You can find out news about this show and all of the other amazing shows that we do here. So I think that's it.
Woo!
And that exit intro has gotten a lot longer.
Depends on who's doing it.
Outro.
The outro, yes. So until next week, everyone, take care.
All right, have a good week.
Christian.
Jesus died on a cross. I go to church every Sunday. This got out here. Then I read that this Jesus died on a cross for a rotten hooker.
I thought I was a good Christian.
I go to church every Sunday.
I thought I was a good Christian.
I go to church every Sunday. I am a very religious person.
I thought I was a good Christian.
The very lies the serpent told to Eve in the Garden of Eden. Spread confusion and promote lies. The gospel of Jesus Christ. Spread confusion and promote lies. The gospel of Jesus Christ. Spread confusion and promote lies. The gospel.